Have you ever felt like you were losing your mind? That's exactly what David thought when his 8-year-old daughter started seeing impossible things at school. At first he blamed it on grief. After all, they had lost someone irreplaceable just 6 months ago. But then Emma started describing details that a child's imagination couldn't possibly invent. The way she moved, what she wore, even the folders she carried. David knew he had to discover the truth. But when he walked into that school cafeteria, his blood ran cold at what he saw. Loss changes people in ways we can never predict. For David Miller, it wasn't just about learning to live without his beloved wife Claire. It was about helping their 8-year-old daughter Emma navigate a world that suddenly made no sense anymore. The accident happened on a Tuesday morning, just like any other. Claire had kissed Emma goodbye, grabbed her travel mug of coffee, and headed out for work. She never made it to the office. A patch of black ice, a split second, and everything changed forever. 6 months had passed since that devastating morning, and David was doing his best to keep their little family together. Some days were harder than others. The empty chair at the dinner table, the silence where Claire's laughter used to be, the way Emma would sometimes stare at her mother's photos for hours. But nothing could have prepared David for what happened that ordinary Wednesday evening. They were having dinner, simple mac and cheese, Claire's recipe, when Emma spoke up in that matter-of-fact way children sometimes do. "I saw Mom at school today." David's fork clattered against his plate. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. This wasn't uncommon, he told himself. Children who lose parents often imagine seeing them. The grief counselor had warned him about this. "Sweetheart," he began gently, "sometimes when we really miss someone—" She was wearing her yellow sweater, Emma interrupted, taking another bite of mac and cheese. "You know, the fuzzy one." David felt his chest tighten. Claire had owned a yellow sweater, a soft, chunky knit one she'd wear on chilly days. But Emma hadn't mentioned that sweater since the accident. Why now? Why so specific? "Emma, honey," he tried again. "I know you miss Mom. I miss her too. But sometimes our minds play tricks on us when we're sad." Emma looked at him with those eyes, Claire's eyes, and shook her head. "No, Daddy, I really saw her. She was by the cafeteria during lunch." That night, after tucking Emma in, David sat in the darkness of his living room, Claire's photograph in his hands. Was he doing enough to help their daughter cope? Should he schedule another appointment with the grief counselor? Over the next few weeks, Emma's stories continued, each one more detailed than the last. Mom had her hair in a French braid today, she'd say, or she was carrying those blue folders she always used for her important papers. These weren't vague sightings. These were specific details, changing day by day. David started keeping a journal of Emma's descriptions, trying to make sense of it all. The yellow sweater one day, a white blouse the next, a braid one morning, loose waves in the afternoon. Something wasn't adding up. Children with grief-induced visions usually describe the same image over and over, a memory frozen in time. But Emma's sightings were dynamic, changing, alive. David scheduled a meeting with Emma's teacher, Mrs. Peterson. As they sat in her classroom after school, surrounded by alphabet charts and children's artwork, she listened to his concerns. "Emma's been doing well in class," Mrs. Peterson said thoughtfully. "Her grades haven't slipped, she participates. But what? She does spend a lot of time looking out the window during lunch period. And sometimes, during recess, she stands by the fence instead of playing with the other children, just watching." Was his daughter losing touch with reality? The thought kept David awake at night. He started picking Emma up from school more often, hoping to understand what she was seeing. The school hallways were always busy during pickup time, parents, teachers, staff members hurrying in every direction. And then, one afternoon, it happened. David was walking down the main corridor when he saw her, a figure at the far end of the hall. The way she moved, that familiar grace in her step. His heart stopped. For a moment he was sure. But when he rushed forward, the figure was gone. Now David was the one questioning his sanity. Had grief finally caught up with him too? Was he seeing what Emma saw? He requested a meeting with the school principal, determined to review security footage. He needed answers, needed to understand what was happening to his family. Sitting in the main office, waiting for his appointment, David overheard two staff members talking near the water cooler. He wouldn't have paid attention, except for one sentence that made his blood run cold. "The new lunch lady is so wonderful with the kids," one woman said, "especially with Emma Miller. Always gives her extra attention." David's heart began to race. He hadn't mentioned Emma's sightings to anyone in the office yet. How did they know about Emma? "Excuse me," he interrupted, his voice shaking. "This lunch lady, when did she start working here?" "Oh, about 3 months ago," the secretary replied. "Would you like me to show you to the cafeteria? It's just down the hall." David's legs felt like lead as he walked toward the cafeteria doors. His hands were trembling as he pushed them open. The large room was mostly empty now, the lunch period long over. A few staff members were cleaning up, and behind the counter, he saw her, the same height as Claire, the same honey blonde hair, the same gentle smile that had won his heart 15 years ago. David gripped the doorframe to keep from falling. The woman looked up, and their eyes met. She dropped the tray she was holding, the clatter echoing through the empty cafeteria. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then with tears streaming down her face, she whispered, "You must be David." The truth, when it finally came out, was more extraordinary than anything David could have imagined. The woman's name was Sarah. She was Claire's identical twin sister, given up for adoption at birth. For years, she had been searching for her birth family, using DNA ancestry websites and hiring private investigators. When she finally found a match, she discovered she had a twin sister, but she was 3 months too late. By the time Sarah located Claire's information, the obituaries had already been written. The funeral had already been held. Her twin sister, the one she had dreamed of meeting her entire life, was gone. "I couldn't stay away," Sarah explained, her hands shaking as she wiped away tears. "I took this job because I needed to be close to the family I never knew I had. I knew it wasn't right, watching from afar, but I didn't know how to explain who I was without disrupting your lives even more." Today, the Miller family's dinner table isn't quite so empty anymore. Sarah joins them often, bringing with her stories of the sister she never met, and pieces of Claire that even David never knew existed. Emma was right all along. She had been seeing her mother in a way, through the aunt who shares not just Claire's face but her mannerisms, her laugh, and her heart. Sometimes the most extraordinary miracles come disguised as ordinary moments. For the Miller family, healing came in the form of a school lunch lady, proving that even in our darkest moments, light finds a way to break through.